Okay, so last time we tried to understand can ELT be taught without a course book, and we tried to understand what a bad textbook can look like. And today we move to understand what are the four parts of the need analysis. Um, This is very important need analysis, and I think I have attempted to explain the importance of need analysis. Uh, there are four layers to look at the need analysis, and this is well explained in the source which I have mentioned before. The four analysis, the situations where you can see Dudley events in St. John. I think you can get a link of this on this. It's on Google Books, and you can access that, provided it's not restricted to India. It's not restricted to UK. If it is available, I'll try to get a copy. It's old version, published in 1998, but still it's very important. Now, the first part of any need analysis will deal with what is known and what is unknown. That means present situation analysis, what your learners know, at what level they are, and what they don't know. If you do this analysis, you will come to know simplistically what they need and where they need to go. So any situation analysis of the current state of learner in a particular language will be called present situation analysis, right? So you try to understand through various means what your learners know. So you may ask simply, do you know anything about active and passive voice? Students may raise their hand and will tell you, I know a bit. I know this part. I know this segment. And then you actually try to understand by taking test. Okay, so they know a simple sentence can be converted into passive voice, but there is a difficulty for imperative sentences to be converted into passive voice. So that idea will allow you to understand at what level your students are. Once you know that, the present condition of your learners, then you try to allocate time for the diagnostic test. Based on the results of the present situation analysis, then you try to find out what time you will allot to each and every student. If it is one-to-one student and if it is one-to-many, we will see today perhaps that what is the difference when we talk one-to-one session and one-to-many session. So what time you allocate for the diagnostic test after the present situation analysis, how much time you devote, because that's very important in any session that you begin your teaching. And then the time duration of the course. Do you think the students will be able to learn in 5 sessions on active and passive voice? If you think based on the present situation analysis, you are right to do only 5 sessions. But if you think that some of the students are not very good, or there are many errors in understanding the passive verb or even the preposition by or the agent by, then you allocate more time duration for the course. So your first research on present situation analysis will give you an idea that what kind of time do you require to invest. The second is what kind of resources are available to you. Now, this is related to you as a teacher, as an institution. So resources such as facilities. Do I have a language lab? Do I have visual projectors? Do I have audio visual projector both? Can I use smart board? Do I have dictionaries? Do I have additional teaching staff which can look after the feedback mechanism in the end, at the end of the class? What kind of resources I have? That means economics play a very important role. You can't just do things on your own if you are dealing with one-to-many. It's okay if you have one-to-one session where resources will be limited, technology and human interaction would be limited. But if there are 16 students, you require one additional teaching assistant, because you can't reach everybody. As a human, we have limitations and constraints on any of these. Then we establish priority and have to compromise on things. Like if you have constraints on human resources, that means you are not able to employ teaching assistant or research assistant. That means the work the teacher does in the classroom will be entirely on his shoulder. And teacher, if not sufficiently paid, if he is not getting enough economic satisfaction, he may compromise on things. That's very individualistic, but it happens. If there is a compromise on technology, he is not getting visual aids to project on the screen, there will be some hindrances in making things happen in the classroom. But even in that case, a teacher who is resourceful will prioritize what kind of facilities he can create. It's not necessary that you need a projector all the time. You can ask students to make charts, huge charts, and you can display it in the classroom. That is a priority. That how are you going to do things? So you can ask students to draw whatever you have written on the whiteboard or the blackboard and make a chart of it. Like we used to do in the classroom, where our teacher used to teach English, and he would say, you are 5 students as a group, you have to make a chart on active and passive voice, where somebody would write structure, somebody would give examples, somebody would explain where and when active and passives are used. So you have to be resourceful in order to get things done in the classroom. So that is the means analysis. Okay, when you give students chart to prepare, you have to include that in learning hours. So students learn on their own, and you have to provide enough resources. As a teacher, you can say, you can read from textbook A, B, and C, and you can find out what is all about active and passive voice. So means relates to that. Time and resources and your priorities. Once these 2 steps are over, you can go on to learning situation analysis. That means what the learner wants. Then you may ask, sir, we have already done in present situation analysis. That is what is known and what is unknown. No. See, what is known and what is unknown will tell you where the students are. And learning situation will tell you where student needs to go. Right? So let's say we conducted a research in the first year, and I found that all my students know how to use adjectives, but they don't know how to use concord correctly. So I know the adjectives, nouns, verbs, students know, but concord is an issue. So when I do that analysis, that is learning situation analysis, I will look where students would like to go from there. I know what is unknown, but then I have also to know where he intends to go. I may say, okay, I need to attend communication skills classes, but my need is to improve only how to speak and how to speak effectively. So that's what he needs. So I cannot give him all the lessons on communication skills, because when you say communication skills, it's a broad umbrella term where what I need to do is to focus on a specific component called speaking. So he needs to speak effectively. That means his messages are heard clearly and without any confusion. So I will design the course based on that. But then if somebody says to me, sir, I want to speak with impact, now there is a difference. So the learning situation will tell me what the learner wants. Now, if you can differentiate between effective speaking and speaking with impact, you will understand the difference in designing the course. When I say I'm okay, am I audible? Okay, I
Yes,
think,
sir.
okay. So I think we lost connection between. So what I was saying, that when I say I'm speaking with impact and I'm speaking effectively, it has two different ways of designing the course. When I say I'm speaking with impact, what I mean is my word should result in action where my listeners are working or listening to me. So it's a kind of powerful way of speaking. I'm not just looking at making meaning clear, but I want my listeners to act in a certain ways. All the managers, all the CEO of the companies, all the political leaders, all the influential writers, they speak with impact, high impact. They speak effectively, but they also speak with impact. So if you can understand what learner wants, you will be able to deliver the course in their needs. You will be projecting. But then there is a conflict between LSA and TSA. We'll see what TSA is, and then we'll discuss what the conflicts are. So when you say target situation analysis, the learner should be able to do something at the end of the course based on the objective needs that you have identified and learner has identified. So whether he is able to perform a task at the end of the course is what you are looking at. So learning situation will direct you where the learner is going, and the target situation analysis will tell you where the learner has will go, sorry, where the learner will reach. So at the end of the course, if your learner has identified in LSA that he needs to speak effectively at the end of the course, he should be able to speak effectively. If the learner has identified his need as, I need to speak correct English, and that's it. So Target situation analysis will tell at the end of the course, he speaks English correctly. So he is able to perform communicative acts that he identified in the learning situation analysis. And he is in control of that. I need to speak with impact. I speak with impact. Now you see the difference in two statements. I need to speak effectively. I speak effectively. So the first sentence is a need, and the second sentence is how he has, the way he has reached the target. The course design will help. Now, the conflict is who will decide the learner has reached the target and to what extent he has reached the target. What are the components to understand the target analysis? Now, these questions have been bothering the linguists and researchers. And it is a conflict that what are the needs and how to achieve them. Because learners sometimes don't know what their needs are, or even teachers sometimes don't know how to identify learners' needs. Yesterday we saw syllabus, curriculum and course. When governments, when experts, they try to design a course, do they consider these four situations? When experts design a textbook, do they look at facilities the teacher has in the classroom? Do they look at the technological advancements in the current scenario? Are our classrooms equipped with those technologies? Okay, if technological inputs are there in the classrooms, does a teacher know how to operate them? Do we have human resources to help the teachers to achieve the needs of the learners? You might have seen that our classrooms are flooded because of the population. We can easily say so. But then, are we equipping teachers? Are we empowering teachers by giving them additional facilities, human resources, or even technological know-how? If they are able to do learning situation analysis, are they able to communicate with the agencies which design the course or the textbook? Very important question. These constraints have to be acknowledged by the authorities and the experts who design the course. Have they visited the remotest school in a rural area before they designing the course? When they recruit the teachers, have they understood where they are going to be placed, what circumstances they would be in? What kind of present situation is there in a particular remote region? Because when we talk of present situation analysis, the urban area and the rural area and the remotest area would be absolutely different. So who does this analysis analytical studies? And who will then analyze that the targets have been achieved? In our context, very honestly speaking, if you score 90 or above, you have achieved the objectives. Yes, Arya, is it just a question or it was an accident? Because you raised
Sir,
your...
still confused about learning situation analysis and target
Okay.
situation analysis. How
Okay.
is it different?
Okay, how is it different? See, learning situation analysis will tell you where you want to go. So if I am trying to analyze the situation for my learners in the classroom, my attempt would be to know what they want to learn in this session or in this course. So they will say to me that I want to learn about how to write English grammar correctly, how to write a sentence. So they will tell me, I know how to write a simple sentence, but I don't know how to frame complex or compound sentences in English. So that is their need, that is their want, that is their desire. Now, when I do this learning situation analysis, I know that the student has a need-based learning attitude. And what is that learning need? Complex and compound sentences. So I'll design the course. And once that is over, let's say I took 5 sessions on compound sentences and complex sentences. And then I will again conduct the target situation analysis, whether my students are able to write compound sentences and complex sentences. So at the end of the 5th session, they would be able to do what they needed to do. Right? Arya, is it helpful?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when you know what you want and then you analyze whether you have achieved whatever you wanted, and that is the difference between situation in learning and target situation analysis. So a course should have both learning situation analysis and target situation analysis, where teachers at the end of the course will ask students, did you learn what you wanted to learn? Did you achieve what you wanted to achieve? So the learning situation analysis would be considered as overall picture and how teacher is going to take towards achieving those needs would be target situation analysis at the end of the course. And we'll see with examples that how these are achieved, the objectives, the needs, wants. Okay. The next is very interesting. I think we have done this. What is course design and how do we take it? So a course design is a process that interprets data, the data that we have derived from present situation analysis or what was it? And means analysis. And you interpret the data based on the need analysis that you have done, and then transfer all that analysis into series of sessions. Okay. So for example, as I said, that my students are not able to write compound and complex sentences. That's one. They have some difficulties in active and passive voice. Second, and they have some difficulties in concord, subject-verb agreement. And there are students who have problem with the articles, a and the. So this is, I have identified 4 needs of my learner, and then I will design a course where I accommodate 1, 2, 3, and 4. Subject, verb, agreement, concord, and then active, passive voice, and then there is compound sentences and complex sentences. And what was the 4th element? I forgot. Okay, leave it. So I have identified 4 elements and then I will deliver them. So whatever I'm delivering as a package can be considered a course design, a series of lessons to facilitate the subsequent process of syllabus design, material selection. So my materials, if my students are weak in articles, I will choose all the material related to articles, subject, verb, agreement, or concord, active, passive voice, and what was the 4th one? Again, I forgot. If you can remind me, please. So subject, verb, agreement, articles, complex sentences, and again, I forgot the 3rd one. Okay, don't worry. I think you got all the 4s. So you select the material which your students want, to learn. And then you include what are the classroom teaching methods and practices and approaches, and how are you going to evaluate them. So if you see, there are multiple things happening at different times during the course. So first, you analyze the need. Based on the need, you analyze, you plan your series of lessons considering the means analysis. The third, you try to combine everything into a package. Then you try to include materials which is going to help your learners to achieve their needs. Fifth, you are going to teach with different approaches, methods, and principles. And once you have done that, you will do evaluation. That means examination, tests, assessments, whatever you want to term them. So evaluation will help you to understand whether you have achieved the objectives that you have defined, or the objectives or needs that students wanted to learn from you. Okay, so if I have taught them the articles, I will do everything related to articles, and then I will evaluate. Okay, so my students were making 60% of errors before I begin teaching them. And after teaching, the error has reduced to 10%. So that is the evaluation. But those 10% again needs some remedial sessions. So that is the course design. So whatever you decide to do in the larger picture, the long-term perspective, the long-term purpose of the course can be considered goals or aims of the course. At the end of the course, you will be able to learn the correct use of articles. That is not the goal. The goal is, at the end of the course, students will learn writing correctly. So that's the overall goal. But when you want to make an objective for a session or a series of lessons, you can say specific need has been met. So writing correctly, it's a huge umbrella term where you can include articles, concord, complex sentences, style of writing, diction, multiple things when it comes to writing, the style of writing, the kind of writing, the genres of writing. But I am dealing with, and that's our overall objective, overall goal. If I'm talking of a particular session, within that goal, I will divide it into series of objectives. Writing effectively is overall goal. And from that, I will say I need 10 sessions to make my students learn all the strategies to write effectively. And there are 10 strategies that I have defined. And each class, each session, 45 minutes or 1 hour, will look at one strategy. And after attending that one strategy session, my students will be able to achieve that. Look at this. Course design for one-to-one and course design for one-to-many. Is there any difference when you design a course for one single student and when you design a course for many students? Is there any difference? Any idea?
Sir, in when the course is designed for many students in a class, that can be like different types of learners, so it might
Right.
differ.
Yes, it might differ. It might differ hugely because You have seen in our previous learning style analysis that we all are different learners, audio learners, visual learners, and tactile learners. So if you are designing a course for one student, you know how the person is going to learn, but you don't know how the students are going to learn if they are more than one. So there is a huge difference when you start designing course for one student and many students. Do we do teachers way, students way, or can we consider teaching as a consultancy in either case? These are very interesting questions I would like to ask you. Do we do teachers way, or should we do students way? Should I teach the way students are asking me, or should I teach the way I think I should teach?
I think it depends on the teacher. Like some of the teachers, they ask that how would you like to be taught, or in what way would you like to be taught, and others just do as they want to. So I guess.
Okay. Now here it's like a conflicting situation again. Uh, we have 6 minutes. Okay. Let me give you one interesting example with my one-to-one teaching. I was hired as a volunteer for a student who lives in Cyprus, and I was told by the company what he wants. And we had a number of sessions before I interacted with him. So the company told me that you need to work on how to fill application forms, how to communicate in the real life situations like buying bus tickets or taking passports to the port entry, and how to talk about the family situations back in home because he was a refugee. So the company interacted with me on a number of occasions that what he wants. And when I interacted with my student after at least 15 hours interaction with the company, and then the student say, I don't want all that what you are saying. I think I need to write. Well, now this is a huge difference between what the teacher is supposed to do with one-to-one student and what the agency wants the student to achieve, and what the student himself wants to achieve in his English language classes. Now, this is very interesting. If I do it my way, the agency is unhappy. If I do it with students' way, I will break the norms with my agency. And if I do students' way, I don't know whether agency will recruit me for the next assignment. So teachers' way, students' way, again, the learning pedagogies, students might not know the learning pedagogies. The teachers may not know the context of students' needs. So it's a very complex situation and very interesting one as well. Whether you go teacher's way or student's way. If we look at the need analysis, if we try to understand students' need, then we can combine this approaches with students' way as well as teachers' way. In either case, the teaching becomes consultancy. You know what the role of the consultants are, that they try to solve the problems. So ELT teachers have been identified as consultants as well as practitioners. So you see, teaching may not be the right word for an ELT practitioner. He may be a consultant as well. In British Council, they hire consultants for English language teaching, and you are paid based on your assignments. And there are a number of organizations, private and government, they hire consultants for designing course, delivering the course, and even evaluating the course. So when you become a graduate, just don't confine yourself to this term teaching. You can become a consultant to a private company, to a media company, to a government agency, to a school, because you are there to solve the problems of English language teaching, whether it's a teachers, whether it's a student. So remember, this is a very interesting times to work in the language field. So when do you think a teacher starts teaching? Honestly, tell me. Hello.
Like, sir, does that teaching have to be restricted to the topics that the course mandates, or is it just like, because I mean, you can learn a number of things, like even if once the teacher just walks in, or if you're introduced to a teacher and you know.
Okay, let me
I think you
rephrase
just
the
start right
question.
there.
Let me rephrase the question, Laya. When does the teaching start? That means at what point the teacher starts teaching. Now you can confine the classroom, and that is the activity that you are looking, the teaching as an activity. The teacher comes into the classroom and starts speaking whatever he intend to speak, and learner needs to listen. And then as an activity, you're looking in the classroom boundaries only. But if you look at it as a process, the process of teaching starts. When does the teaching process start? The teaching process starts even before we can imagine. When I interacted with that agency, which recruited me as a volunteer, the moment they recruited me, the teaching process started. I never did that before. I asked number of questions. I took notes, and based on number of at least 15 hours we interacted, and then I went to the classroom. And there my activity of teaching started, but the process started quite early on. So we need to understand that when you are into consultancy or such business, do you consider teaching as an activity or a process? Because if you consider it as a process, you might charge differently. And if you are considered only activity, you might charge